Hey guys, Tim here with Printer Software, and today we're going to show you our bulk export feature. This is probably the biggest time-saving feature we've got, so I'm pretty excited to share you guys. So to go ahead and boot it up, what we'll do is we'll come over to the Steelworks tab and we'll hit the bulk export option. So this feature is really helpful for fabrication shops that do a lot of DXF files for their laser water jet table, and a lot of step files for like a tube laser or tube plasma or something of that nature. So, it can be really time consuming to go ahead and find every step file, save it off, give it the right file name, put it in the location. So this tool right here will actually find all the step files or all the DXF files or all of whatever extension you're looking for, and go ahead and collect them all, give you a bulk option to edit the file names, and export them all out in one go around. So in this example, we'll have around 20 or 30 parts working with, but it still works on top level assemblies with hundreds of parts where we can just go ahead and click it and let SolidWorks burn through all the parts. So we'll go ahead and do two examples. We'll do one with some step files and one with some DXF files. We'll go ahead and get started with a step file, kind of treating these parts like they're a tube laser part. So in that instance, anything that says HSS, and we also got some angle in here, such as these guys are probably pretty good candidates to go ahead and go into our tube laser. So I'll show you how it works after we just do a quick example. So I'm going to go ahead and click this Collect All Components button. You can see it found 19 parts, and I can go ahead and select all these and say, hey, looks like we got all of our parts except this one vertical HSS right here. So we'll go ahead and talk through exactly how these parts are selected, and then we'll go through the export process. So this Collect All button will go ahead and collect parts based off of some user-defined rules we have in our settings. So booting up our settings, we can come over to our bulk export page, and we see that we've got options for all the different file extensions that are going to match up to what we've got here, along with up here as well. So this instance, we're working with step files, so we're going to see exactly how all these parts were collected for a step file. We've got two options. We can, one, use the process that the part was assigned. In this particular instance, it was tube laser or tube plasma, or we can say that, hey, this part has this particular shape. You can see with some of our DXF parts, we've got plate, sheet, floor plate, but with this example, with the step files, all we're relying on is our processes. So these processes are defined in the custom properties of the part, and we'll go ahead and show you exactly what that looks like now. So I'll save and close this guy, and this is really a good example to be using our custom property assistant here. This makes it really easy to go ahead and loop through all of the components and bodies and parts within a top level assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and loop through until I found my top level frame, and then I'm going to loop through all of the bodies on here until I find this vertical part that I am looking for. And here it is. So right here is where we actually can assign the processes. For this particular guy, we're going to say this is a tube laser, and we actually have an audit process that makes it even easier just by clicking this button. So now I'll go ahead and save this part, and we can close down our custom property assistant. You'll notice we have 19 items found. If we go ahead and collect our components again, you'll notice now we're up to 20, and we can go ahead and select all these at once, and we can see that, hey, everybody looks to be covered, at least for what we want to go ahead and export in a step file. And we can go ahead and look here, click one individually to see exactly what part we've got selected. And remember, we're in a top level assembly right now, right here. And you can see we have these 3 part files, and we're still able to go ahead and poke around at the individual body or body folder level while we navigate through here. So this table right here will just give us some helpful information, which like the part number that got pulled from it, a quick description, which is basically some stuff from the custom properties, including your description, material, and length. And then we also have the file name. And this file name is generated the same way that file names are generated when we did our single export. And for a quick refresher, that's over here in our file naming tab, step files. You can see it's going to be put in a step subfolder with our part number, rev, and material as part of the file name, and which you can see that right here. Anything here with this blue font means I can come in here and edit it. So if I wanted to, I could say this is rev 1. Let's say, this particular part right here, maybe I want to go ahead and send that to a different process, and I'll maybe do a SAT file or something like that. So now I've got my parts that I want to go ahead and export, and all I need to do is hit this Export All Components button, and now we've got our 19 parts since we did remove one from our list, and I'll go ahead and automatically export all those files out, And while that's doing that, I'll go ahead and pull up the folder that it's all getting placed into. And we'll just wait one more second and we'll look from alt save. And now we can go ahead and hit our open folder button. And here is where all of those 19 parts got exported out to. And now that the export's done, you'll notice we've got two new columns that pop up here. This one, if it's saved successfully, which everybody looks like it's true, which matched up with the 19 parts we saw in there. And if I want to open up one part in particular, I can hit this open part button, and I'll go ahead and pull it up in whatever my default step file viewer is on eDrawings for us here. So that's how we can go in and quickly export all our step files. And so now we'll go ahead and move into our DXF files, and we'll go ahead and hit this and go to collect, and you can see here is everybody that we've got collected. Now DXF files are similar to how the step files are exported. However, there's one difference. When you export a step file out, you're selecting a body. It doesn't really matter what you select, it's just a body. However, our DXFs are going to be a little bit different because the face that we select is going to be potentially important depending on what type of part we're working with. Obviously, we need to make sure we select at least the top or the bottom face and not an edge or a hole, which our advanced feature analysis will automatically select the correct face for you. However, the top and bottom face may or may not become an issue for you depending on what you're doing. So we have this warning note here just to be careful when you're working with asymmetrical parts, such as diamond plate or painted plate, or something where the top and the bottom surface is distinctly different. Maybe it's a special grain direction, or maybe the top is polished and the bottom's not. Basically, the reasoning behind that is our software will always select the bottom surface of a plate. And sometimes when you laser parts, you want the DXF to be from the top view, and you can get basically inverse version of that part. So in those particular one-off cases, you might need to manually export those and kind of delete them from here. But for most use cases, it's going to work just perfectly for you. So one example on something that, this plain carbon here, steel plate, top and bottom is no different. You notice there's countersinks here, and most of the time when we're working with countersinks, we just want to go ahead and laser it kind of with this profile or contour right here, and then we'll come back with a secondary operation and go ahead and export or go ahead and drill those countersinks. So with this particular export, what it's going to do on a part like this, it's going to look at the surface area of this face and this face and compare the two, and it's going to realize that this is the bottom face and this is the top face, because the bottom face has slightly more surface area due to the fact that there's not a countersink there. So when this part gets exported, it's going to go ahead and export it from this bottom face. On things where it's equal, it's just going to grab whatever face it feels like. But now that that kind of defines exactly how those faces are exported, we can go ahead and click this Export All Components button, and we can actually watch it as it goes through, and if we recognize something that looks astray, we can come back and fix that manually after. But it's kind of up to you with how exactly you want to go ahead and export that. Not visible behind here, but we also have a sheet metal part, and for the sheet metal part, it's going to be very similar to the simple exports that we did last time, where it will go ahead and flatten the part and apply the bend lines and other rules and stuff that you have defined based off of your settings here in the file naming section with the DXF sheet metal export options. So these are the two methods that we have. Anything that's a DWG is going to have a similar workflow with the DXF. And same thing for the step iges, parasolids, and SAT files as well. So